While North Korean troops' impact remains limited due to their small numbers, experts warn that North Korea's growing involvement could significantly influence Russia's war effort. Valeriia Semeniuk from Ukraine, in an article for Tagesspiegel, shared Ukrainian soldiers' accounts of encounters with North Korean soldiers, along with expert analysis on the subject. The presence of North Korean soldiers in Russia's ongoing war against Ukraine has significantly altered the dynamics on the front lines, according to Ukrainian military personnel. Ukrainian Sergeant Yurii Bondar from the 80th Airborne Assault Brigade described the contrast between Russian and North Korean tactics. Russian soldiers at least wait until the sun rises. The North Koreans, on the other hand, have been storming us since 4:15 in the morning. Bondar shared with Tagesspiegel. He noted that North Korean troops are relentless, often regrouping in the midst of their attacks and continuing even when injured. They are more motivated than Putin's troops, he added, pointing to their readiness to sacrifice their lives. Bondar, who has been engaged in operations in the Kursk region for over 5 months, has encountered North Korean forces for approximately 2 months. Initially, Ukrainian soldiers underestimated the effectiveness of these troops, particularly due to the anticipated language barrier. However, Bondar explained that Russian soldiers often assist by signaling with red flares, guiding the North Koreans during attacks. North Korean soldiers, despite their limited experience, are proving to be formidable opponents. Lieutenant Stanislav Krasnov from Ukraine's 95th Airborne Brigade pointed out that North Koreans use large group formations reminiscent of Russian tactics from the early stages of the invasion. The North Koreans are what you call cannon fodder, Krasnov observed, referring to their willingness to endure heavy casualties to achieve their objectives. Estimates suggest that between 3,000 and 3,800 of the 12,000 North Koreans fighting alongside Russian forces have been wounded or killed. Despite initial missteps in their attacks, such as chaotic advances and disorganized retreats, North Korean troops have adapted quickly. Bondar noted that their tactics have evolved over time. One group would draw attention while another flanked Ukrainian positions, and a third wave would attempt to secure the terrain. This strategy took the Ukrainian forces by surprise. Military expert Pavlo Narozny further sheds light on the role of North Korean forces, pointing out that 3 North Korean generals have been dispatched to the Kursk region. Their presence alongside the 12,000 soldiers suggests that Kim Jong-un's forces are also studying modern warfare techniques. However, Narozny emphasizes that North Korean troops have not yet significantly influenced the outcome of the war, as they make up less than 2% of the total Russian military force. Despite this, their presence has certainly bolstered Russian defenses in the Kursk region. According to experts, after the deoccupation of Crimea, many of the new strikes will leave the peninsula themselves, especially the military and their families. 50% are the military, security forces, officials, those who will leave themselves. They won't even need to be asked, because they understand what awaits them, says political scientist Evgenia Goryunova in a story by Krim.Reli. I am sure that at least 50% and even more of those who settled after 2014 will leave, notes Crimean journalist Imran Husseinov. In his opinion, a significant portion of those who lived on the peninsula before 2014 and who supported the occupation of Crimea will also leave. As Sevastopol resident Roman Martinovsky notes, many Crimeans have recently been working out escape routes by buying up apartments in the Krasnodar region in Russia. They just buy them and then rent them out, but I understand why they do this. This is a kind of backup airfield in case things get hot in Crimea, he says. He noted that he personally knows a lot of people who bought apartments outside of Crimea, rented them out, and are watching how things develop further. Earlier, the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine has appealed to Russians to leave Crimea while the option exists. This call is really important and should be taken seriously for several reasons. The first is that Crimea is crucial in Russia's war against Ukraine, and the Ukrainian armed forces are unlikely to stop until they liberate the occupied peninsula. The second reason is that, according to a representative of Ukrainian intelligence, They will try to cut Crimea off from Russia so that Moscow cannot use the peninsula for military purposes and, in the end, make a so-called Crimean gesture of goodwill. That is, judging by these statements, the Russians were given the opportunity to leave Crimea on their own before Ukrainian troops entered. Recall Ukraine's strikes on the Black Sea Fleet headquarters and other sites have highlighted the vulnerability of Crimea's facilities. As a result, Russia currently does not plan to fully return its fleet to Crimea, according to Ukrainian Navy spokesperson Dmytro Pletenchuk. According to Pletenchuk, the situation in the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov remains stable. Russian forces keep their vessels at a distance from Ukraine's defense forces, but rely on aviation to patrol Crimea's western and southern coast. The enemy continues to avoid the Sea of Azov, and their fleet, what could be deemed combat-ready, remains based in Novorossiysk, Pletenchuk said. Foreign troops will be brought into Ukraine in the near future. This opinion was expressed by the officer of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Sergei Shakun, on air of Novosti.live. At the same time, he emphasized that it is inappropriate to talk about a ceasefire, since this will not solve the problem, but will only give the Russian Federation the opportunity to restore its strength for a future offensive. I am sure that in the near future, there will be foreign troops, either English, maybe French, maybe Polish, on the territory of Ukraine, he emphasized. According to him, the involvement of military forces of Ukraine's allied countries has been discussed for a long time. He recalled that some previously had little faith that Ukraine would receive from its allies, in particular F-16 fighter planes, as well as Leopard battle tanks, modern air defense systems, but our defense forces already have them. Shakun noted that Europe understands that more weapons and people are needed to protect Ukraine. That's why I'm not sure that this could happen in the near future, because our European friends understand that the Muscovites will then come to them. First, it will be the northern border with Belarus, and then, I think, it will be help. There is hope, he emphasized. As Muzia reported, Europe is skeptical about the chances of sending peacekeeping troops to Ukraine if the Americans do not join the mission. According to Radio Liberty, which cites sources, European officials believe that it will be very difficult to convince the European population of the need to send European troops to Ukraine without the participation of the United States in the mission. In particular, one official recalled the skepticism in the Czech Republic and Poland on this issue, and these are two countries that must provide a lot of soldiers. But discussions continue in Europe about the possible introduction of peacekeepers to the demarcation line between Ukraine and the Russian Federation in the event of an agreement to end hostilities. Authoritative military analyst Franz Stefan Gadi is convinced that the idea of peacekeepers will only make sense if they are well-equipped, powerful troops that are truly ready to fight the Russians. He noted that for all 3 years, Europe has avoided making strong decisions in support of Ukraine and, it seems, has only now realized the scale of the risks that arise for it in the event of a Russian victory. The topic of peacekeepers is also raised in this context to prevent the war from resuming later, but any idea of holding Russia back from violating the concluded truce with symbolic peacekeeping forces is a fantasy. The author of the publication is convinced. In his opinion, only powerful forces capable of fighting and holding their positions in the event of Russian aggression can hold back the battle-hardened army of the aggressor from a new offensive.